Hello everybody, welcome to the Gyrocopter Flying Club. In this film, I'll try and answer a question from a viewer about takeoff performance. The question is from Kai, and he asked a couple of related questions, the main one being, I have an airfield with only 200 meters of runway. Is there a way to accelerate to take off in 100 meters, as I need the other 100 meters to climb to avoid trees? Kai sent me some footage of the airfield, this is it, and the surface doesn't look the most consistent. You can also see clearly that there are trees beyond the runway itself. He then goes on to ask my opinion on a couple of aircraft, the ELA Eclipse 10 or Autogyro Calidus 914, before finally asking if it would be possible to even winch launch into the air. Some good questions, certainly interesting ones. Now, before we get into what might be technically possible, I'd just like to give a personal view on my thinking just generally. We'll play the clip again so we can have a good perspective of what we're talking about, but my thoughts really are what options exist within a 30 or 40 minute drive, because actually whilst the surface isn't the most gnarly, the surrounding trees do grab my attention, and it doesn't happen that often these days, but engine failure is still a possibility. And what options are you going to have? Probably they're going to be limited, and that's a concern. The other thing is what help is going to be available if I do have a problem. Will anybody even know that I'm in trouble? And also I think a windsock is fairly essential. I guess we could spin that around and conclude it's a bad idea, but that to one side, is it technically possible? Well, Kai suggests he's looking at two aircraft, the Eclipse 10 from ELA or a Calidus 914 by Autogyro, and from my own experience I would say no way would I choose a Calidus for that type of airfield. It's not the most stable during ground handling, and given the rough nature I think you'll just quite frankly beat it to death very quickly. ELA personally I don't have any experience of, but it's a similar layout, although the high tail is possibly a nicer option for the rough strip, and flying in Spain with a Spanish aircraft suggests to me better service options. However, crucially, the data I have for the Eclipse 10, the marketing material suggests the 914 powered version needs only 100 meters at sea level in ISA conditions. Now, I don't have the details for the airfield nor the data from ELA on how changes in conditions affect the takeoff distance, and it's typically one area where gyroplane manufacturers are poor, in that unlike fixed wing aircraft that have volumes of data on takeoff performance, usually you just get one number and left to stab in the dark with a gyroplane. And so it is with the ELA. And when you look at the POH for the Eclipse 10, you can see that they now don't use the words as they did in the marketing material, takeoff distance, but takeoff roll for that same 100 meters. And indeed in the POH they don't actually give you a distance to clear 50 feet at all. As for winch launching, the real issue is where and how to mount the cable mount and its release mechanism, because both aircraft are composite bodied. It would also require some calculation regarding the projected tow line passing through the centre line of drag at an average height, and all of which would require the assistance of a manufacturer, which I'm sure they'd be unlikely to give. However, winch launching would actually be quite possible, although it wouldn't be something you'd do without some element of testing. So, is it possible? Looking at this Eclipse 10 flown solo, I would say it is, but with all of the snags I've highlighted, and to be sure you'd need to gain some real data from a regular airfield. Fly safely. Hello.